Hi,
Yeah.
everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. You can see I have a special guest right there. He's taking a drink of milk or whatever. He's former out. What was your position with the Bernie Sanders campaign?
So I was the National Political Outreach Coordinator. I worked as the deputy to the political director.
So we're going to be seeing you at the People's Summit in Chicago on June 9th through 11th. What's going to be happening there?
Yeah, at the People's Summit, we're going to have maybe 50 supporters of ours. I'm glad you'll be there too. Ron will be there, I know. And we are going to we're going to be there in a mission-oriented way to talk to as many progressives as possible and, basically try to stage an intervention in this movement and show people, like this isn't working. Is it the exact opposite of what we'd expect? Those visions that some people had back in November, we're going to take over the party. At this point, the party's going to be ours. And, we're going to have elected the chairs and we're going to be winning the special elections and all that. And our, Democratic Party affiliation is going to be going up because we're bringing people into the party and Republicans are going to be going down. It's the opposite. It's honestly the opposite of everything you would expect to see if this strategy was working.
It's the opposite.
We're going to go there and we're going to try to.
Nick, it's the opposite because the Democratic Party has literally done the opposite of what everyone thought they would do. We thought they would move left and become more progressive. They've literally moved right and become more Republican-like, even after losing to Donald Trump. They've become less progressive, more corporate. The DNC literally started taking lobbyist corporate money, which they wouldn't do before. They literally just installed a corporate lobbyist to head the biggest Democratic establishment outside the DNC. They just installed a pharmacist lobbyists from the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, it's amazing how much further right. Picking Tim Kaine was not the last thing the Democratic Party did to move to the right. They continue to move to the right. Every week, something else is happening. If it's Cory Booker undermining us getting cheaper drugs, or it's Dianne Feinstein saying single payer means a government takeover of healthcare, they're literally revealing themselves to be right wingers, and there's no point to vote for the Democrats. They're literally gotten more corporate after the election. So that's the shocker to me. Isn't that the shocker to you?
Yeah, they have. You're right. The Democratic Party, like I was saying earlier, they're wooing billionaires now to run for office. In West Virginia, they elected a former Republican billionaire coal baron, as they put him up as their nominee and as their governor. Well, guess what? They're trying to do that in 3 more states, in Ohio and Florida and in California. They want billionaires, again, to go and essentially become the governors of those states, So you're right. That's a strategy. We found out recently that the DNC is consulting with Rahm Emanuel for its 2018 strategy. Rahm Emanuel is the guy who brought in these corporate Democrats, these right-wing Democrats in 2006, who all got crushed afterwards. And so, and he himself has said, Rahm Emanuel has said that he believes that victory runs through basically the wealthy suburbs of America, and they want to capture the Mitt Romney voters, before, and those are the people, that's where we're going to win. It's kind of like what Brian Fallon, Hillary aide, said as well. He said victory runs through the Panera Breads of America, for Christ's sake.
Chuck Schumer said that we could turn our back on the blue-collar worker in Pennsylvania, and for every blue-collar worker we lose their vote, we're going to pick up 2 or 3 white suburban Republicans in the city. And he said you can do that in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and replicate that. Of course, you couldn't replicate that, and that's why you guys lost, and that's why the Democratic Party is completely wiped out, because they're out of touch. That the only way they're, Upton Sinclair said it's very hard to get a man to understand a problem when his paycheck depends on him not understanding it. And that is Chuck Schumer. That is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. That is Donna the Cheater Brazil. That is everybody. That is Nancy Pelosi. So their paycheck depends on them not understanding what's wrong with the Democratic Party. And that's where DraftBernie comes in. And we're going to help them see the light by getting them out of power.
Thank you, Jimmy. That's the good news. The good news is we have a better way now. We have Bernie Sanders, who in that year, he built up literally all those disadvantages that he started off against Hillary initially. He has them now. universal name recognition, national donor base, national volunteer structure, a message that everybody's on board with, a country that the majority wants a third party. You know, it's like the stage is so set. The stage is set. And we just need Bernie to come over, start the party. And we know that he can unify the left. In that 1 year, he proved that he could. He did it already. He's the man who brought the left together. You know, all these different coalitions. Now, what's happening, you know, part of this is learning the lessons of Occupy. Occupy helped us advance political consciousness in a very great way. You know, it was a quantum leap in political consciousness. But one of the mistakes that Occupy made, I think, was not consolidating, not formalizing, institutionalizing its power. And so if we don't do that now, there is the risk that, you know, the resistance essentially dies down. You know, we need a means to power. The movement needs a means to power. It needs an electoral wing, you know, so that we can actually start winning victories. And we don't have that now. That's what Bernie can give us, because he already did it. He did it all in the primaries. And if it, you know, that system changing force that he put together in a single year, he can bring it back together, but it's not starting at square one anymore. It's starting virtually as a party that is already created.
All right, Nick, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I want to add that, I mean, I want to thank everybody who's been doing such an incredible job of, you know, coming out and doing visibility to Bernie. Like, Bernie is seeing our supporters at virtually every stop that he goes to now. There's people who are telling him, Bernie, just start a new party already, you know. And so I would say,
people, by the way, to my live shows, which sell out weeks in advance. People are bringing posters that say Draft Bernie, and they're giving them to me, and I'm holding them on stage, and so people are excited about this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, people really are. I think the more that people learn about it, and the more that happens, the more they see for themselves what the Democratic Party is about, the more they realize, you know, this is the last step to the political revolution. If you look at it, if you look at this from the perspective of the way in which the Republicans, Lincoln's Republicans, replaced the Whigs, so you could see, you could boil it down to 3 steps. And the first step was build a coalition within an establishment party, a majority coalition around an issue that the establishment party refuses to represent. Bernie did that during the primaries.
Well, and you would say that was single payer and getting money out of politics?
Yeah, and I would say he has the Democratic Party base on his side now. You know, and I would say it was all the issues he pushed during the campaign. Exactly. And that's step 1. And the second step is showing that you know, showing the limits of the establishment party, showing that it is not capable, you know, structurally. It is structurally incapable of representing what that majority wants. And then the third step is where we are now. Bernie has done those 2 things. The third step, following that successful model to create a third party in American history, the model of replacing the pro-slavery Whig Party, is to take that base that you have built within the establishment party, take the base of the party, move it to a new party, and bring in other electoral coalitions, other electoral forces, other groups like independents, young people, people who wouldn't vote, and create a new party. And that's the stage that we're at now.
Okay, so that 3-point plan, you get a charismatic leader to outline policies that the big parties aren't going to address, like getting money out of politics, single payer, stuff like that. He's doing it. Break up the banks. He did it. The second point is part of that is that you point out the limitations of the party and that how the structurally set up to thwart change. And the third thing is that what is the third thing?
Third thing is you take the party that you built within the party. You have a party within a party at that point. You take it. You start a new party. Okay. You launch a new party with that base.
And I think
break the base of the establishment party out to a party that does represent their issues.
Okay, it's time for It's time. You know, Bernie always said, "Think big," All right, and that's the problem with Democrats. They think small because they're paid to think small, and Americans are supposed to think big. We've done this before. It's time to do it again. It's time to think big and take back our country with a charismatic leader that the country already loves. Over 80% of the Democrats love Bernie Sanders. So the people you hear who are still smearing Bernie Sanders and still smearing the progressives, which is everybody, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, and everybody else on Twitter and Facebook, those are a minority of people being paid to say that stuff. It's a very, 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 it's like the hate percent. 8% of the Democratic Party has a strong dislike for Bernie. That's the 8%. We call it the hate percent. That's it. Everybody else is on board with Bernie Sanders inside the Democratic Party, except they won't let the progressives take over the party, which is why it's time to let that party go and start a new one. And that is exactly what we're doing. And I think Bernie Sanders, he's a pragmatist, so he knows that the Democrats are a dead end for progressives. They know that there is a graveyard inside the Democratic Party for progressives, so he knows this. He's not stupid. He is pragmatic, and he knows that if he starts this third party, it will change America, and he's ready to change America. That's why he's out there doing this. That's why he wanted to do a Medicare for All tour. Just like you said, he now has the infrastructure in place. Now we actually can take over. When he started the primary against Hillary Clinton, no one knew who he was. He was 60 points down. He came from a 60-point deficit to getting 47% of the votes in the goddamn primary. So this is what we're talking about. The time is now. People are ready. Everybody under 30 years old is ready. And all the people who don't like this are dying out every year. It is time for Draft Bernie. I think Bernie's going to jump on board. I have a feeling he already told you he's going to, but you can't say anything publicly. And that's just complete speculation. But I'm going to meet up with him in Chicago, and I'm going to find out what he really thinks. Nick, thanks for being our guest.
So glad to be on, Jimmy. See you in Chicago.
See you in Chicago.
Let's get it done.
Now, I just want to remind people where they can go.
Oh, yes. Please go to draftbernie.org. We've got a petition to Bernie there. And you can also sign up for the town hall there. You can sign up and express support for that. So definitely sign that petition to Bernie. You can also donate to the Crowd PAC, as I've seen that you have.
Yes, I have. All right, buddy. I'll see you in Chicago.
See you there.
The next live Jimmy Dore show is June 19th in Burbank, California, and July 15th in San Francisco at the Great Star Theater. For all links for all tickets to those shows and our full schedule right there, there's a link to jimmydorcomedy.com. We'll see you at those live shows.